You are lying awake at 3 in the morning, entirely exhausted, not because of what you did today, but because of how tightly you are clenching your fists around a life that is constantly trying to change. Before we untangle this heavy knot together, take a slow, deep breath, and if you want to find more of these quiet reflections, consider subscribing to the Psyche Unfolding channel. I want you to look at your hands in your mind. Notice how you spend your days grabbing, holding, securing, and defending. You try to hold on to passing moments, forcing them to last just a little bit longer than they were meant to. You try to hold on to people, terrified of the invisible space that might naturally grow between you. You even hold on to your own pain, your old resentments, and your past traumas, because at least they are familiar. At least they give you a recognizable sense of identity. We walk through our days carrying an unbearable, invisible weight. It feels like carrying a backpack filled with 50 kilograms of cold, jagged stones, and the profound tragedy is that we are the ones picking up every single stone along the path, entirely by choice. We convince ourselves that if we just hold on tight enough, if we manage to control every single variable, we can build an impenetrable fortress against loss. We treat our lives like an old, abandoned house out in the middle of nowhere, terrified of the unpredictable weather outside. We frantically lock all the heavy wooden doors. We hammer thick nails through wooden boards over the windows, and we sit alone on the dusty floor in the dark, desperately trying to keep out the wind and the rain. But we forget one crucial thing. By trying to keep out the violent storm, we also lock out the morning sunlight, the warm summer breeze, and the sweet smell of the earth after the rain. The air inside our carefully constructed fortress grows stale, heavy, and suffocating. We are left completely paralyzed in the dark, consumed by the constant, humming anxiety of a potential breach. This is the exact root of your deepest, most enduring aches. The quiet tragedy of our human existence is not that things eventually end, but that we stubbornly demand they last forever. We construct an entire reality based completely on the illusion of permanence. We expect our physical bodies to remain unchanged, forever frozen in a specific idealized phase of youth, and we punish ourselves when time leaves its natural marks on our skin. We expect our loved ones to stay exactly as they were the very moment we met them, denying them the fundamental human right to grow, shift, and evolve. We expect success, comfort, and joy to be permanent plateaus rather than passing seasons. And when the natural order of the physical world asserts itself, when autumn inevitably strips the fragile golden leaves from the trees, we fall to our knees in despair, completely blindsided by the cold wind. Think about the actual physical sensation of anxiety in your body. It is always a painful contraction. Your throat tightens until it is hard to swallow. Your breathing becomes shallow and erratic. Your jaw locks, your muscles brace for a violent impact. And your mind races like a tightly wound clock mechanism that is on the very verge of snapping its delicate metal gears. This intense physical tension is the direct, biological manifestation of clinging. You are literally bracing your body against the unstoppable flow of time. You are standing right in the middle of a rushing river, stubbornly trying to grab handfuls of fast-moving water, desperately trying to keep the current from moving forward. And as the freezing cold water effortlessly slips through your trembling fingers, you feel a profound, overwhelming sense of failure, inadequacy, and helplessness. But the river was never meant to be caught in your hands. It was only ever meant to flow past you, washing over your skin and moving on to the sea. The sheer exhaustion you feel deep in your bones, the weariness that sleep cannot cure, is simply the result of fighting the most basic nature of existence. You are fighting the mighty ocean tide, and the ocean will always, inevitably, win. Let us sit quietly with this realization for a minute. Look closely at the specific things that bring you the most profound distress in your life. Behind every single suffocating fear, behind every spark of bitter anger, behind the overwhelming, crushing tide of grief, there is a singular, quiet, unyielding demand. The demand that things must be exactly the way you want them to be, and that they must never, ever change. You believe that your happiness is completely tied to a specific outcome, a specific person, a specific job, or a specific version of yourself. You believe that you absolutely need these very specific conditions to simply feel whole. But I want to share a perspective with you tonight that completely shifts the entire landscape of the human mind. The suffering you experience is not actually caused by the external world. The suffering is caused entirely by your mind's rigid attachment to the world. It is not the natural changing of the seasons that breaks your heart. It is your absolute, stubborn refusal to let the summer go. People often confuse attachment with love, but they are entirely different psychological landscapes. Love is the deep, quiet appreciation of a beautiful wild flower, blooming beautifully by the side of a foggy forest road. You see it. You bend down to smell its delicate fragrance. You marvel at its vibrant colours emerging from the grey morning mist, and you walk on, profoundly grateful that you were lucky enough to witness its brief, perfect existence. Attachment is an entirely different reaction. Attachment is ripping that fragile flower out of the soil by its roots, taking it home, putting it in a glass jar on your kitchen table, and crying bitterly when it inevitably withers and dies a few days later. Attachment is never true connection. Attachment is a psychological hostage situation. It is rooted in a deep, shivering sense of scarcity and lack. When you are attached, you are constantly operating from a place of intense fear and panic. You look at your romantic partner, your successful career, your youth, or your social standing, and you think that if you lose this one specific thing, you will be completely erased. You will be nothing. So you tighten your frantic grip. You monitor, you obsess, you worry, you calculate, you manipulate. The very things you love the most become the source of your deepest terror. The bitter, tragic irony of human behavior is that the tighter you grip, the faster you destroy the exact thing you are desperately trying to save. Imagine holding a handful of dry, fine sand. As long as your palm is open, relaxed, and facing the sky, the sand rests peacefully in your hand. But the moment you become consumed by the fear of losing it, the moment you forcefully clench your fist tightly, the pressure forces the tiny grains to slip through your fingers, tumbling to the ground until your hand is completely empty and aching. There is another way to live. A softer, much gentler way that does not require you to constantly build fortresses and stand guard at the gates of your own life. It begins with a simple, quiet, internal surrender. It begins with the profound emotional courage to simply open your tight hand. Imagine walking down a long, winding, incredibly steep dirt road for many long days. The hot sun is beating down on you. Your shoulders are bruised, bleeding, and aching from the straps of that heavy canvas backpack. You are so tired you can barely take another step. Now imagine simply stopping. Imagine slipping the thick straps off your tired shoulders and letting the massive weight drop heavily to the dusty ground with a loud thud. Feel the sudden, unbelievable, breathless lightness in your chest. Feel the cool, refreshing breeze on your damp skin right where the heavy burden used to rest. Notice how your posture naturally straightens, how your lungs expand to their full capacity for the first time in years. This physical relief is exactly what it feels like to finally release your psychological attachments. You do not stop loving the world when you let go. In fact, for the very first time in your life, you are finally free to love the world properly, without the poison of fear. When you deeply and truly accept that everything is temporary, every single mundane moment becomes infinitely more precious. You look at the people you love, knowing that your time with them is just a passing season, and because of that profound, grounding knowing, you do not waste a single second arguing over trivial, meaningless matters. You are fully present with them. You look deeply into their eyes. You listen to the rain drumming against the cold window glass, not wishing for a sunny day, but simply experiencing the beautiful, dark melancholy of the storm. If you are finding a deep sense of relief in these words, I invite you to subscribe to the Psyche Unfolding channel so we can continue to cultivate this quiet, lasting peace together. Letting go is not about apathy. It is not about becoming cold, distant, cynical, or disconnected from your emotions. It is about learning how to flow. It is about returning to the natural, unhurried, graceful rhythm of life. You allow people to be exactly who they are, without demanding they fit into the rigid, impossible mold you created for them in your anxious mind. You allow your feelings to wash over you like a gentle ocean wave, feeling the deep, crushing sadness when it comes, feeling the radiant, bursting joy when it arrives, and then calmly watching them recede back into the vast, stormy sea without ever trying to trap them in a jar. You stop treating your life as a series of possessions to be hoarded, measured and protected behind thick stone walls. Instead, you start treating your life as a beautiful, fleeting melody that you simply get to listen to for a little while. This is the ultimate, profound freedom of the human spirit. You no longer need the world to be perfectly predictable in order to feel safe. Your safety does not come from controlling your chaotic environment or forcing people to stay when it is their time to leave. Your deep, unshakable safety comes from knowing that whatever happens, whatever arrives at your door, and whatever eventually leaves, you will be entirely okay. You will remain whole, intact, and unbroken. The sun will set, taking the warmth of the day with it, and you will not weep for the fading light, because you know the brilliant stars are about to reveal themselves in the dark velvet canvas of the sky. You can finally stop fighting the universe. You can finally rest your weary, overworked mind. Notice how the desperate grip is already loosening. Notice how your jaw is unclamping. The suffocating fear is slowly dissolving into the quiet night, leaving nothing but crystal clarity behind. You are just a quiet traveller on a beautiful, mysterious, winding road, carrying absolutely nothing, holding on to nothing, and yet you are completely full. Breathe in the cool, peaceful night air. Let it fill your lungs entirely, right down to the bottom, and as you slowly exhale, let everything go. You are completely safe in this open, limitless space.